Good. Thank you all for waiting on time. Okay, so today we have a special guest speaker. Her name is Hua Lore. She is, I kind of just got this from her website. So Hua Lore is the founder and CEO of unitedhmongshaman Temple. She is the oldest of 12 children. She is a wife and a mother of 5 children. In 1999, she received her BS in accountancy from California State University, Sacramento, and earned her MBA in financial management from National University of San Diego in 2002. She works as an accountant in Sacramento, California. Aside from her job as an accountant, she is a passionate master shaman. She dedicates her time to the community to heal spiritual and physical illness, improve interpersonal and family relationships, and balance energy between the physical and spiritual worlds by the use of her shaman spirits. She educates the communities about shamanism, the way of the shaman, supports and guides the new shamans and their families through their journey of becoming shaman. Hua is a master spiritual healer with over 10 years of spiritual healing experience. She is actively working with educational institutions, hospitals, and communities about Hmong shamanism, Hmong history, Hmong art, and Hmong culture. So Hua will share a little bit of her experience and how she became a shaman. And she will talk a little bit about the unitedhmongshaman Temple. So please join me in welcoming Hua.
Okay, she did a wonderful job about me. I don't have to introduce myself anymore. Anyway, as Professor Bang was saying, my name is Hua. I want to thank you for everyone for being here. As you all know, I have Mr. Hurd here. He's also the co-founder of unitedhmongshaman Temple, and I have Samantha. She used to be a student here a couple years ago. She is now an undergrad and doing her thesis on shamanism. So she's here to watch me as well. So anyway, before I move on into talking about a little bit about this spiritual healing, I wanted to thank the professor for giving me the opportunities to be here today. And also I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about unitedhmongshaman Temple. We are a nonprofit organization located in Sacramento. We, again, our goals and vision is to provide shamanic healing, spiritual healing to the community, continue to practice shamanism, and also preserving shamanism and the way of the shamans for future generation. I wanted to, here's our visions, again, it's pretty much the same as I just said earlier. We are a shamanic centers, provide spiritual healing to the community, preserves and also practice shamanism. I wanted to give you guys a little history. I know that some of you may already know who the Hmong people are, but those of you that are not familiar with, I'm just going to give you a very small and brief history about the Hmong people. So the Hmong people used to live in China for thousands of years. In the 1800s, the Hmong people were faced with political prosecution and genocide. And so it forces some of the Hmong people to migrate to Southeast Asia, specifically in the mountain range of Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, used to be Burma. And during the Vietnam War, the Hmong people was recruited by the American CIA to help fight against the communists. After 1975, when the communists take over Laos, many of the Hmong people, again, facing political prosecution and also genocide again, that forces the Hmong in Laos to migrate to refugee camps in Thailand. Thereafter, many of the Hmong people resettled in France, Canada, Australia, and of course the United States. In fact, California has one of the largest Hmong population in the state, followed by Minnesota and Wisconsin. So now that you know a little bit about the Hmong people, a very brief history about the Hmong people and where we are today, I wanted to talk a little bit to you about our culture, our practice, our belief and practice, okay? So the Hmong people, we are always ancestral worshiper, and we believe in animism. Animism is a belief that everything exists in the physical world for a purpose, and everything had its spirit, okay? And we also believe that the physical world and the spiritual world coexist. One cannot survive without the other. In it, it inhabited the varieties of different spirits that can harm and influence the individual life, okay? And so in that, we also believe in different types of spirits. So I will go more into details on the different types of spirits as further on my presentation. So with this in mind, how do we protect ourselves from these spirits and from the unseen world? Okay, so the Hmong people protect ourselves from the unseen world and from the spirit through the practice of shamanism. Okay, and what is this shamanism? Shamanism is practiced by shamans. Okay, and what is a shaman really? A shaman is a spiritual healer who mediate between the spiritual world and the physical world for the purpose of healing. And a shaman can be a male or a female. One has to be chosen to be a shaman by the shaman spirit. So we can't just go to educational institutions and then take class and then we can become a shaman. In fact, many of these shamans experience lengthy of pains and suffering, as well as experience life and death situation before they master their shaman spirits or becoming, a shaman. With that, what do a shaman need? Okay, we need tools, we need supplies in order for us to do our healing. Okay, and these are some of the tools, or these are the tools that shaman use to heal and help them when they're in the spiritual world. So we need our bench. I noticed that there's no picture. I was like, oh, where's my pictures? But anyway, it probably did transfer right. So anyway, sorry I didn't have the picture there. I actually have, but it's not there, so we'll go by this. So anyway, we're gonna need our bench. We need our gong, our finger ring bells. We need our bell, a rattle, a sword, and a set of horns, okay? Split horns. Now, what are these to a shamans? In the spiritual world, it's our tools, it's our weapons against evil spirits. So for example, our bench, it's very important to a shaman. It depends on the preference of their shaman spirit. Some of them stand on the bench, some of them sit on the bench. And in the spiritual world, it is a shaman meaning of traveling between the different realms that they're in. So that's why a bench is it's our number one tools that we must have. Okay, and that what is all supplied. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Are you sure?
Here's the pictures. Again, so it's the bench, the rattles, the gong, and the swords, and all these are the tools of the shaman. And here's all the supplies that we will need. We need jaws, paper, incense, white flowers, and white candles. So I have to let you guys know that the flowers, it all depends on the preference of the shaman spirit. Some of them will use yellow flowers. And not only that, even the shaman themselves and the spirits nowadays, it also evolved. And we evolve because our spirituals, shaman spirituals, already evolving. So I'm saying this because like my parents' generation as a shaman, they don't use the white flowers and they don't use the white candles. They just use the jaw papers and the incense. So now we are evolving. We need the white flowers, the white candles in order for us to do our ceremony and our rituals and practice. And the shaman need his or her altars. As you can see, the altars is reside in the comforts of a shaman's home. And you notice that there's two different altars right here. The one on the left is actually a small altar This altar is really for a young shaman who is willing to embrace their new way and embrace the shaman way, and in the process of practicing and learning to become a shaman. Now the one on the right is actually a master shaman temple or master shaman altar. And so it is, not all altars are the same. So they could be in different shape and different sizes. Now, as far as a shaman concerned, there are 3 factors that impacting the well-being and health of the individual that a shaman would assess on. Let's just say if I have a patient comes in and they explain to me, oh, these are my symptoms, these are my issues, these are the 3 things that I will assess on, because this is the 3 factors that as a shamans we believe it impact the health of the individual. So first is the soul of the individual, okay? And then the ancestral spirits and other spirits. Remember I told you that the world is inhabited with varieties of spirits. These other spirits also have a great impact on the individual's health. So before I go into further, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a soul and a spirit. So there is a difference between a soul and a spirit. A soul associated with life, okay? It exists in the physical world in a physical form. A spirit does not associate with life, okay? So what does that mean? It means when the individual is alive, it has a soul, okay? But when that individual passes, that soul will leave the individual's body and it becomes a spirit, because this soul now have no way to return to no more, no body anymore. So it is now a spirit, okay? So that is the difference between a soul and a spirit. So as an individual, we have many souls, but it all boils into these 3 souls that you see right here. These 3 souls are souls of the individual, and this soul are what causes the individual's well-being, okay? So what is a wonder soul? One is the wonder soul. The other is the reincarnation soul, and then the third one is the ancestral soul, okay? So let's talk about the wonder soul. What is a wonder soul, okay? A wandering soul is a soul that leaves the body, okay? And so any of you guys wonder why we dreams at night, okay? When the human or when the individuals, when our body relaxes at night, this wonder soul wander off. And that's why we dreams about places that we've been to that we don't know. We meet people in our dreams that we don't know. And we also dreams about people that we haven't seen for a while. And then we dreams about the people that have passed. That's because this soul wandered off, and it wandered to the spiritual world and into a place where all the soul and spirit are mingled, and that is in the spiritual world. And that's why we dreams about all these, okay? So if the soul leaves the individual body, what do we do as a shaman, okay? If a shaman assesses it, and because a soul has left the body, there's 2 things that we do. We're doing a soul retrieving ceremony, okay? One, we can do a soul calling. A soul calling is if the soul left the body and it just lost, and it doesn't know its way back, and it can't find its way back, okay? Then we do a simple soul calling, okay? Because we believe that the physical world and the spiritual world coexist. That stays true to the human body. That our body is a shell or a host for the soul, and the soul and the body needs to be in one in order for us to live healthy and harmony in this physical world. And that's why, as a shaman, we retrieve this soul, because it's important for the individuals to stay healthy and happy in the physical world. So again, if the soul is only lost and it doesn't know its way back, then we do a simple soul calling, which Hmong call it hubli, okay? And what do we do with this? This one is simple soul calling. The shaman go into the individual's home with their tools and supplies and just stand at the door with flowers, with candles, and with fruits, and call the soul back into the family and into the body. And so this is very simple. A lot of the times, this is all they needed, you know? But if the soul wander off, and it's not because the soul is lost, but it's because the soul has been captured by spirits in the spiritual world, then a shamanic trance or soul's retrieving needs to be done. And then at this time, it still has to be at the individual's home, but this time the shaman will have to cross over. And if the ceremony is a lot longer, usually it lasts about 2 hours, the actual ceremony, but the prep and everything, once I go to the individuals to perform this type of shamanic trance, it's pretty much the whole day, you know. And so what the shaman would do is that if they know that they assess it and say that the individual soul has been captured by some sort of spirits in the spiritual world, they will go there and they will do their ceremony, cross over, and will try to look for this soul to see who is it that actually captured this soul. Is it a soul of the nature soul spirits, or is it evil spirits, or is it spirits of the family ancestor somewhere? So we will seek for all these, and once we find out where the soul is, we will negotiate to ask them to release the soul back home. Okay? And so don't forget, when this soul wander off to the spiritual world, it may not necessarily mean that it wander off in the form of human. It may have wander off as a different form. And so even though the spirit captured the particular soul, they may not even know if these souls belong to the living. Okay? So this is what the wonder soul does to the individual's body. Is if it wander off too far, then it will cause deterioration of the body, and it will cause the illness, mental, physical illness, when it's away too long from the body. And we will need to do a soul calling and also a shamanic healings for this soul. Okay. Moving on is the reincarnation soul. So this reincarnation soul, its purpose is just to reincarnate, to live, to die. Okay. We are born, and then we experience life, pains and suffer, happy and sad, you know, our life, and it comes to an end, and we pass and we move on. So this is the purpose of this reincarnation soul, is that's all it does, okay? And it is very similar to the wandering soul, except that this soul does not wander. This soul will leave the body and reincarnate, okay? And what caused this soul to leave the body? There are many factors into why this reincarnation soul suddenly gave up and decided to go and seek for a book of life and wanted to go reincarnate, okay? One, it may have been that the wonder soul, everything started with the wonder soul. The wonder soul may have been wandered very far into the dead world, and nothing has been done to retreat that. So the body slowly deteriorate and start causing issues, and depression also a big play of it, to a point where the individual feels so depressed that life is not worth living for anymore. Okay? So when that happened, these souls say, oh, this body is contaminated. I don't want to stay anymore. So this soul decided to leave the body to look and seek for a new book of life and go on its path of reincarnation. Okay? Or, again, the wonder soul has been wandered off way too long, and now the body is already so much pains and suffer that the organs and systems already gave up on the body. And whether the soul want to stay or not, the body cannot provide that living conditions for this soul anymore. So this soul will decide to leave the body to seek for a new body and incarnate, okay? Or impact accidents. Even though the individual book of life may not come to an end, accident happen. And when that happens, the body is too damaged that this particular soul cannot stay with it, so it decides to leave the body. Okay, so these are a couple examples of why the reincarnation soul just decides to leave the body and causes the individuals to be in pains and suffering. So when this soul left the body, because again, remember I said before this decide to leave, maybe the wonder souls have left a long time. And when these souls leave too, the individuals would experience sickness very quickly. Their skins would change colors. And so when this happened, and as a shaman, if I diagnose that or I assess it, that this is what's happening, then there's two things that we have to do, and we have to do it quickly because time now is in the essence, okay? And so we can do a shamanic trance again, which we call it waning. And this is, we have our goals and our missions in this is, we gotta find out where the wandering soul is now. Is it wandering way too far into the dying world? Has it been captured by some of the spirits in the spiritual world? Well, where is it, you know? So first we gotta check where this wonder soul, and then retrieve this wonder soul. Pay due if we need to, convince whoever captured this soul to release his soul. And then after that, we will follow the reincarnation soul. Now we will chase that, we will figure out, and our goals and our missions is to stop the reincarnation process. And so we will go and look for this reincarnation soul. If this soul have not been reincarnated, it will just finally in the process of going there, or they may have the book of life, but they have not reincarnated to an actual breeding things or persons, then we can stop and retrieve that soul and bring it back. But there are times as a shaman that I myself had to bring sad news to the family because this individual souls already reincarnate. They may already almost come to life, you know, times do, maybe 1 or 2 days that we do. And if that is the case, then the times that, you know, it's nothing I can do too much about that. And we'll just have to give them that sad news, you know. And then, or we can also do a soul calling, okay? A soul calling, in here we call it a hupikyu. That means this soul calling, we trying to call the soul back, and we have to do it late at night. So between 10:30 to 1 o'clock in the morning. This process, it has to be in this time frame to be effective because we want to retrieve the soul. We don't want anybody else interrupt us when we retrieve the soul. So during that times, everyone is all quiet, asleep, so no one will be there to interrupt us. So that is the times that we will do if we're going to do this hupikyu or soul calling for the reincarnation soul, okay? So again, this is the second soul of the individual, okay? And then we'll move on to the third one, is the ancestral soul, okay? Now this soul of the individual, its main purpose is when the individual passes, these souls will leave the body, become a spirit, and join the ancestor in the ancestor family in the spiritual world. And now, this soul will be part of the ancestor family in the ancestor world and will protect us, or the living. And so it will be the eyes and ear for us in the spiritual world, okay? So this is pretty much what the ancestor soul is. And this ancestor soul remain with the body. that you bury in the grave. So one significant things about this ancestral soul is that when heaven and earth become one again, okay? When the spiritual world and the physical world can become one again, this ancestral soul will go back into the dead body and it will rise up. And this time they really going to live in heaven, okay? So this ancestral soul is also waiting for that times to come. In the meantime, they will be in the spiritual world and be our eyes and ear and protect us. If anything happened in the spiritual world, it usually give us some sort of message, like in the form of dreams, or they will send us message in the forms of abnormal activities. So what is abnormal activities? It's if you are driving in the freeway or in the street somewhere and a bird just hit your windshields from out of nowhere, okay? Something that is totally out of nowhere like this, it's considering that maybe something the ancestor is trying to tell you that something bad is going to happen to you or somebody in the family. And so a time like that, you seek for a shaman's help to find out why you experience that abnormal activities, okay? So I already talked about the three types of soul that impact the individual's health. Now I'm going to talk about the spirit of that, okay? The spirit that impact the health of the individuals are the ancestral spirit. So what did I just said earlier? The ancestral spirits are the spirits that of loved one that passed, okay? And so Hmong call it Okonutsi, okay? And if we disturb the grave, meaning we dig the grave, somebody go in and dig the grave, if animals happen to dig holes into the grave and make a home in the grave, if tree roots happen to puncture through into the grave, this will cause misfortunes and sickness and health and all kind of sadness, really, when you get to your ancestor. Because what happened, when that happened, the living conditions in the spiritual world is really bad. So earlier I said that our ancestors, actually the eye and ear in the spiritual world, who send message to us so that we can prevent disaster, right? So just imagine if their condition is so bad to a point where weakening them, then they can't protect us anymore from any bad or evil spirits or any disaster that's going to happen in the physical world. Or if the ancestor passed or away due to tragic death, okay? Tragic death can be instant impact of car accident. They died because of drowning, because somebody caused them to die, like shoot them. Now, any tragic accident or any tragic death like this will cause bad things back to the living as well. And why that happened is because they cause the conditions in the spiritual world to be bad. Not only that, that ancestor reincarnation soul cannot reincarnate, okay? And when it cannot reincarnate, it will cause sickness and misfortune back to the living. So I want to be very clear that it's not because that the ancestor did that to you, okay? But it was all predetermined before life. It's all predetermined that if this happened in the spiritual world, this is the impact in the physical world. And then remember I said disturbance of the grave of the ancestor. If in the physical world this happened, then this is going to happen in the spiritual world. So it's all predetermined. There are things that is out of control that the ancestor cannot do. They are the one who's helping us. And when we shamans went and assess, they're the one that telling us that, hey, my family is like this because we are in this condition. And that's why, so we need help. If they can fix this condition, they will be fine, you know? So a lot of the times, if people don't explain it well, then they would think that it's their ancestor that doing that to them, but no, that's not true. It's the world itself, it's how times and space and the universe work, and it is all predetermined, okay? So when the reincarnated souls of your ancestor cannot reincarnate it will cause pains and sufferings and misfortunes to the living. And if I assess it that that's the case, then yes, a shamanic healing needs to be done to cleanse the individuals, to cleanse the spiritual worlds, and send them off to reincarnate in the process of that. And so because the Hmong people believe that if when we are born, we were very pure, we did not miss anything. So when we go back, we should go purely, and we should not miss any fingers, we should not miss any parts, okay? And this is why the Hmong people don't do organ donate, okay? It's because this great belief that when someone passed, they need to have everything with them. If they don't have everything with them, they will not be able to move on in the reincarnation process. And when that happens, it's gonna cause misfortune back to the living. And that's why you don't see a lot of Hmong people willing to donate their organs, or sometimes they don't even want to donate blood because of this issue. And but the Hmong people will take donated organs. If they have donated organs, a shaman needs to do a shamanic healings for the donor as well as the recipient, okay? And the shamans would do a spiritual healing for the donor. Why? Because this donor, the shaman know that now that you give a part to someone, you're not going to be able to reincarnate. And you're going to cause pain and suffering into your family. So because you did such a great deed to society and to the world, it is my responsibility as a shaman, even though no one knows, it's my job to send you to heaven and making sure that you can go to reincarnate with no hurdles on your way. Okay, so that's what we, and we will pay due. That hey, you know, this recipient, he or she will pay you this amount of money so that now she or he doesn't owe you any more debt. Okay, so we will send the donor off to reincarnate. And then we turn around and we fix the recipient. And why we fix the recipient? The recipient now, we wanted to open up their blood vessels, making sure that the body is not going to reject to the new parts that they're getting. And if there is a rejection, we want to be as minimal rejection as possible. So we fix that. Not only that, we wanted to make sure that the soul is all in one when these individuals come home. Because when they're in the hospital under general anesthesia, this person is practically considered dead at that minute, you know. So when that person is back at home, we want to make sure that all the soul come home with the individual. So this person will recover quickly. Okay, so anyone who do major surgeries, you would notice some people that recover quickly and some don't. Some they don't, and then or they have complications. It's because maybe their soul are not with them. It's still at the hospital. It's still in the surgery room somewhere, surgical room. You know, so for tragic death or for donors, you know, the Hmong people believe greatly about that. And again, like I already kind of stumbles and go over the being linked to the spiritual world. Our ancestor, if they're in bad condition in the spiritual world, then they can't protect us. And when they can't protect us, we will experience bad luck and you know, sickness into the family. And all of these, again, you know, will require a shamans to go perform a spiritual healing for the family. The next one is other spirits. What is other spirits? Okay, other spirits, we believe, the Hmong people believe in many spirits, like I said earlier. Now, these are the main spirits that I'm talking about earlier. Now, other spirits, the Hmong people believe that we have house spirits, okay? And house spirits, we have spirits who guide and watch our front door and our back door. And their job is to protect us, making sure that no bad energies and no bad spirits enter the home. We also have spirits who also guard our kitchen, what they will call it, the god of kitchen. And then we have four spirits who guard the four corners of the house as well. And then we have the spirits who guard our wealth, well, the god of wealth, right? And all these are similar to our ancestor. They're there to protect us. They're there to tell us if there's anything wrong in their house. But if they get weak and they can't protect us. How do they get weak and how do they get contaminated as a spirit? The Hmong people are big on taboo, okay? So let's just say, for example, a woman who just gave birth, that woman cannot enter anybody else's home other than the home of the husband's side, the immediate family of the husband's side. Even she won't be able to enter the house or the homes of her biological brother or her mother, only in the immediate families of her husband's side. If she doesn't know and she happened to visit somebody and she enters someone else's house, she contaminated the door spirits and make the door spirit weak. So how did she contaminate that? The spirits believe in that when women just give birth, their body hasn't cleaned yet. So when they walk and walk over enter into somebody else's house, this spirit needs to be pure so that they can be strong and they can protect evil spirits from entering those people's home. But if this person happened to walk over it, then it causes this spirit to be weak and it cannot protect the front door, the back door, and evil spirits can enter the house and it will cause illness into the family. So this is one example of how our house spirits can also cause issues to us. Not necessarily because they caused it, but because they're so weak and they can't protect it. So now we experience these issues in the physical world. And then the second types of other spirits is nature spirit. So nature spirits are spirits like tree and cave and river, and sometimes they just spirits who roam around there, but sometimes they are spirits who actually are guardians of that area. And so how do they cause you to be sick? Let's just say, for example, if a hiker go and hike, right? And he or she doesn't know and just stumble into some areas, that's unseen, so we don't know what happened. But we may have stepped into a sacred place of this particular garden, And so now we become a threat to them. So they capture your soul, and because you either harm them without seeing it, knowing it, or you may have damaged the property without even seeing and knowing it. So that's why, so now because you become a threat to them, they will capture your soul, okay? And when they capture your soul, it usually causes illness like a couple days after that. Sometimes even after when you just get home, you already get sick, Then you know that, oh shoot, I may have stumbled into something. I take medication, it doesn't help me. And then that's when you thought, oh shoot, maybe I should seek for a shaman help, And a lot of the times, if that happens, it does require us shamans to go in and do a shamanic healings, to go and retrieve the soul and to pay the due, to also fix whatever the individual damages, okay? And evil spirits are just spirits that roam around and out there to hurt people, okay? And it is evil spirits that they harm the spiritual world as well as the physical world. And so what are these evil spirits? Evil spirits, for example, there are evil spirits that they lived on human energies and soul, okay? And this bad spirits, it's called the energy suckers or soul suckers, or that they lived on human soul and human energy. And usually it impacts youngster, like late teen to early adults, you know, between maybe about in your 15 to 25 time frame period around there. And what do they call it? We call it chochua, okay? But the Americans call it sleep paralysis, okay? So scientific said your brain shuts down, and that's why you experience this condition where you can't move, you know? But as a shamans, when we assess to this type of issues, it's because their soul has been captured or has been contaminated by this energy feeder, you know. And so what it does is every time this creature or this evil spirits come close, you know it right away. It'll come similar at the same times, okay? It comes at the same times, and if you don't take care of this issue, it will get so real to a point where when it comes close to you, you can feel it like a human, okay? And if you don't fix it, you don't get away how to get rid of this particular evil spirit, it will pass to generation. And it will go into generation because this energy now know that your body now fit there, right? And so they continue to dwell in your bloodline. And so this is why if you or anyone who happens to experience this type of symptoms, then it's my recommendation is that you kind of ask people for help. Sometimes they can just tie as simple as a string, you know, like a protection string. It will help you to stable, but it may come back again because you're now more accessible to this type of spirits. So they will come back again. And the worst case is that they have to change your name completely. They will do a shamanic healing and they will change your name completely to prevent these spirits from finding you, okay? And so this is why, so as a shaman, this is pretty much what I do is that we seek for the soul of the individuals and making sure that the soul is back to individuals. And then also, if they're in any conditions, any health issues, we look to see if that has to do with their ancestral spirit or if it has to do with other spirit that they happen to come in contact with. So yeah, that will conclude my presentation on spiritual healing. Again, as a shaman, my main concerns is if I have patients who comes and asks for help, is that I will assess their soul to make sure that their souls are intact, meaning that the wandering soul is there, the reincarnation soul is there, and making sure that the ancestral soul is still there. And if I assess that and then the souls are still good, then I move on to see if it's an ancestral spirit that's causing these persons to be sick. If it's if I checked and then there isn't any, then I move on to see if any other spirits out there. Is it the house spirits? Is it the evil spirits, you know, that's causing these individuals to be in pain? And so if within these three types of spirits and soul, we would be able to narrow down and conclude to see which spirit is actually causing the issue or which soul is actually causing these individuals to be in pains and suffering. So that will conclude that, and I will take a Q&A. If anybody have any questions, I am here to answer. Woo. No question?
Yeah. And then when you were talking about, you had mentioned that if you give a part of yourself via organ donation, you can reincarnate. I wonder if if you give a part of yourself that is not like of your physical body, but is maybe like of your energy or your intention, is there similar?
It has to be your physical thing. Yeah. So if you, let's just say if I'm just transferring some of my energy, it's considering you fixing someone. Okay. So if I'm an energy healer, right? And I'm trying to heal somebody, and then really that's considered healing. So it's not considered as you donated anything to them. It's because you are a healer and you're doing your job and you're trying to heal this individual. But if you actually give a physical part, that's when they will come and collect. So that's why, you know how like if someone donated a kidney and then the doctor usually said, oh, you know, it only lasts about 10 years after that, right? That's because by that time the soul is back and searching for its part, the spirit. And that's why, so the individuals that the recipient who receive the soul or the kidney now, it's suddenly the kidney is dead, you know? And why? It's because in order for the donor to get the kidney, that person has to die so that she can, or the donor can get his or her parts. So that's why they will go for certain times, and then when it's time to reincarnate, they go to get the book of life, and the guy up there would say, hey, you know, you're missing this, you're missing this. You have to go back and get it. Otherwise, you cannot continue on your path of reincarnations. So that spirits come back, and that spirit will, even though he had no clue who got it, the guy up there specifically said, your part, this person got it, your part, this person got it. And you wanted to move on, you gotta go back and get your parts. And that's why they know exactly who to come back and get it. Okay? Yeah.
So what if you, your soul wanders into the spirit realm, either by invitation or on your own accord? What steps should one take to make sure that the soul doesn't wander too far or get lost?
Mm. So that has to do with your door spirits also. That door spirits must be able to, it gotta be stay strong, because their purpose is not only in protecting the evil coming into the house, but their job's also protecting that the soul of the people who live in the house does not escape. So that it's important that we continue to make sure that the spirits at the door stay strong and healthy and continue to protect us. So when you go for so long, the door spirit know how to call your soul back. Say, hey, you know, you need to come back. That's too far out, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like in the spiritual world, a lot of the times when I go and I fix people, I usually plant flower around their home. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I plant flower around their home. Why? Because remember I told you that when all wonder soul wanders off, that does not necessarily mean that they go in the form of a human. Okay? They can be a form of an animal, like birds, you know, or a deer or whatever in the animal forms. And if I can put enough flowers around the house, that say, okay, well, if they become bees or if they become birds, they're just gonna stay within this flower realm. They're not gonna go anywhere, you know. So for me, when I go fix people, I usually make sure that in the spiritual world, I plant enough flowers within a distance, you know, in their home, so that if anyone in the house, their soul happen to wanders, it won't wander too far. Anyone? All good? Yeah?
Hi. I was wondering, okay, because you explained a lot about like kind of like I guess the basis of like spiritual healing, like terms and like things like that, and like beliefs. I was wondering if that was specific to like Hmong people, or if that's kind of like a general like for like all, I guess like.
the general population.
Yeah.
You know what I taught today is specifically in the Hmong community. That's how we believe. And so again, because it does not matter who we all coming from the same roots and the same place. So we all practice a little bit different, but if you think about it, the basic belief is all the same. It's all the same. Okay? Yeah. So it doesn't matter who we are. We all are the same person coming from the same place, and so the belief or practice similar. We practice a little bit different because that's what fit us most, and that's what help us. So we do that, and it was that's what was available to us. So we continue to do it this way. Where other people may use it a little bit different because it fit them better that way because of the environment they lived in. But overall, it's all boiled into the same roots and same belief.
With the ancestral soul, is time, can you talk to ancestors from the future? How relative is time for the ancestral soul? Like, can you communicate perhaps with the familial ancestors of like someone you'll merge with, but haven't connected with yet?
So like, for example, if I have a boyfriend, I haven't married yet, can I have connection with his ancestor?
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, not really. So I have to be very clear with the Hmong belief in the ancestor, okay? So let's just say once I marry, I am the responsibility of my husband's ancestor now. Yeah, and so I'm no longer are the responsibility of my parents or my ancestor. Yeah. So that's why if you haven't married into this person, then you are not their ancestor responsibilities. Therefore, they can't protect you. Okay. So because in the Hmong cultures, the minute I marry my husband, I am now the responsibility of my husband's ancestor, and it's the whole wedding rituals. The minute I marry, my family notify my ancestor that hey, our daughter married and move on. That way it will release them from protecting me, because too many people to protect. So they will release will let my ancestor know right away during their wedding to let them know that hey, all daughters have married and move on to this family. And then on my husband's side of the family, the third morning of our wedding, there will be a wedding ceremony, and then the in-laws would introduce me to their ancestor and telling the ancestor that, hey, this is our daughter-in-law. From today forward, it's your responsibility to protect her. Yeah. So then I will be the responsibility of my husband's ancestor. And but that does not necessarily mean that my ancestor on my side cannot send me messages. They could. Okay, because I'm their blood, so we connected by blood. So they will always notify me that hey, sometime they will tell me that hey, something is going to happen in the form of dreams. That I said, and for example, if my grandparents say, hey, I'm really hungry, and it's a dreams, right? We believe that when they come to tell us that they're really hungry, and we saw them in a conditions that is unhealthy or the condition that is not livable, then chances are they probably like that in the spiritual world. So I either let my dad, my mom know that hey, I dream about grandma and grandpa, and they say they're really hungry, and I notice that they look the conditions are not good, so maybe you guys should do a feast for them, something like that. Then my parents would do it. But let's just say, for example, if I don't have any survival parents or brother on my side of the family, then my husband and I would do it. And I would do it, but then I would do a feast for them, and I will burn incense and paper money to them, and I will have a feast for them, and I will call them to come and eat and bless me and my family. Yeah.
Wonder. So I don't know if a lot of
Hmong folks have thought about it, but as far as like unwed mothers or divorced Hmong women, how does the ancestral spirits,
Accept them?
yeah,
Okay.
how does that work? Or
So that, yeah, I'm happy you bring that up. In the Hmong culture, that is an issue. That is an issue in the Hmong cultures. But I think that it's because that's just always been the way that cultures is, and I think it will always be. But a lot of the time, let's just say a divorcee divorced and come back and stay with the parents, and she passed. If she passed, they would have to do a funeral for that individual. But now there's no more husband side to, because when someone passed, they usually take that spirit and someone's actually guide that spirit to the ancestral realm. Okay, and of course she married. She no longer belonged to the parents' family anymore. She is now at her husband's side, but now her husband doesn't marry her anymore, right? So there's no way for this soul to go anymore. So what they tell this soul is they send this soul to go stay with the ancestor of the parent side. But because she is a divorcee in the spiritual world, she is not considering the priority. Okay? So she is still that, but in the spiritual world, she wasn't considered, she will not be considered as a priority to them. She will be there, they will guide her, they will watch her, making sure that if she doesn't have anything to eat, they will help her. But she just someone who hang around in their room, that's it, you know. So because they know that that's their bloodline, but that's all they can do now, you know. And so for a divorcee, that's pretty much what they do. That's why a lot of people, once they divorce, in the old day, once they divorce, they would worry about their death. And they would have to seek for a husband to care for them at later stage. Now, but if you have kids, let's just say if you're married to your husband and you guys have grown kids, you know, and your husband and you guys end up divorced, a lot of the times the son of the family say, Dad, this is my mom and I'm gonna take care of it. So when he take care of it, then he does the funeral just like it's never been divorced, okay? The only times that they have to do it, like I said, was send the soul to stay with the woman's ancestor, is when she got divorced young, or she never, even if she divorced old, she never had any kids. But then, you know, no one's able to handle her funeral. So her parents and her brother, sister will come and care for the funeral. But the only thing they can do is send her to stay with her ancestor. But now she is considered a second class in the spiritual world. Yeah.
So I agree with you that so many of our beliefs are very similar and have similar practices, but they just have different names and different religious, names, etc. To the point where I feel that a lot of these beliefs are also kind of patriarchal, and I think your examples of the pregnant woman or the divorcee, like, is there? I mean, I don't even know if there's a divorcee situation for the men. Like, it seems like a man can be divorced and he still has his family. A woman's divorced and she's out of luck.
It's so bad.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is, or I guess what I'm asking is, you're a part of this new generation of shamans, right? And creating a new space for shamans. These issues, that it to me seems really unfair in any realm. How do you see any shift in that? Or,
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I'm glad you asked that. So the one of my purpose of my organization is I really want to advocate for divorcee, okay? And I want everybody to understand that we all are coming from the same place, okay? And so when a divorcee passed, we don't necessarily have to worry so much about where I'm going or who I'm going to be with on the other side. At the end of the day, we all go into the same place, where we started. And so we call it ancestor, and we call it Okonyotsi, but that is when life exists. That's where life started,
Right.
So everyone would all
Yeah.
end up, doesn't matter how many streets coming together, it all going to end up in that one place. And going forward, it doesn't have to be so difficult during the funeral, on the funeral times for divorcee, for women. They can just have a really nice funeral, where there's flowers, just do a public viewing, all your friends and your loved one can come and just say a couple nice words for you. And then after that, when your family feel better, just find a shaman who can come just send that soul to heaven, and that's it. So these will bypass the really difficult traditional Hmong funeral for divorcee women, okay? So in our cultures, it is so complicated if you are a divorced woman, and not so much as a man, like you said. And I think that it just, I think that's pretty much go well with every other culture, at a different levels. But in the Hmong cultures, in the Hmong community, is that if I divorce my husband, they look at me like I'm just like, oh my God, you are so bad. And my husband, nobody, even he's the wrong guy, they still didn't say that he's wrong, and he still have a place to stay, a place to live, like such a pride, even though you did some bad, But me as a woman, now I become a divorcee, it's a talk in the block, And so it's always something like that, but I've seen that now that societies are changing and women are more, even all cultures are evolving, because what I mean by this is, like, let's talk about the shaman again. Now my parent generation shamans, okay, they will, when they do spiritual healing, they do sacrifice certain animals, okay? And that's not necessarily they actually sacrificing that animal, okay? As a shaman, they negotiate that life, okay? They negotiate this animal's life, and they talk to these animals and explain to this animal why they would ask for them to help, and asking them that telling them that this is your job, and I need you to help me to block this path for 12 months of a calendar year. I will come back and I will bring your soul, I will free your soul, I will take you to get a book of life, and this time you are not going to be born as an animal, but you are going to be born as a human, and above all, So before the shaman sacrifice or kill the animals, they have to go through lengthy negotiating that life. They don't just kill it, okay? So I want people to understand that, because some people don't understand. They just keep thinking, oh my God, you sacrifice animal. Well, we did kill the animal when we do shamanic healings and rituals in the old day, but it don't just kill it and then left it there. No, there is a lengthy process in negotiating with these animals about their life. And then not only that negotiate and leave him there, they pay him money, they make sure he have food to eat in the spiritual world, and in 12 months, they will come back and collect all this soul that they have asked for a favor, and they will take those animals to heavens and ask for a book of life. And now this animal is no longer going to be born as an animal, but will be born as a human, okay? So this is the old traditional of my mom and my dad generation shamans. Now, a lot of our shamans right now, we'll consider ourselves the new generation shamans, because we are evolving, okay? We don't use animals anymore. Why we don't use animal anymore? Because we have come to an understanding, and not only we, but the spiritual world has come into an understanding and realizing that, hey, we can negotiate with paper money, we can do other things. We don't necessarily have to do a life for life, So now, the new generation shaman now, we don't use animal anymore. And it's because even if we want to use, we won't be able to use it. Why? Because our shaman spirits already evolved. They already let go of that old traditional things, right? And if we still continue doing the old traditional way, the way our parents does or did, we will not master them, because they will consider us unclean, and they will not teach us, they will not guide us, okay? So we have to listen to our spirits, and we have to practice according to the environment we're in and according to the way our spirits evolve, you know? Because right now, even all the symptoms of this new generation shamans, it's even different. Like my parents' generation shaman, when their spirit calling them, their pains and sufferings are not the way we young generation shaman experience. When my parents' generations, when their shaman call them, shaman spirit call them, they might be in pain of headaches, they might be pain of their leg, and some of them may be pain constantly, sick for a couple of days, they get up, they sick for a couple of days, and that's it. But here, this generation shamans, those who experience shaman calling experience terrible pain and suffering. And what I mean by that, it starts with psychologicals and mentals, you know, and it makes you, it plays with your brain, it plays with your mind, and if you don't know, and you can't differentiate the difference, you can go to a mental hospital, okay? And that's why it is so important that the newer generation needs to understand that when I'm experiencing this type of mental issues or psychological issues, maybe I need to seek other help as well. Not so much that I will be a cycle, but it may be something is telling me something, okay? So here in the United States, I have to say that is that I myself experience that, because when I go to the hospital, as soon as my doctor can't diagnose my symptom, he classified me into something else. And that was it, his job is done, as soon as he classified me, okay? And as soon as he classified me as this group, he get medication for me. And then he tell me, you just continue to take this, if you don't feel better, you come back and see me again. Now I become his patient on a regular basis for something that I should have been doing that. So that's why it's so important that for the younger generation, you gotta listen to yourself, you gotta listen to your body, you gotta listen to your mind. What is it saying about it, you know? Do I experience something abnormal? Did I experience something different, okay? So this way, when it comes to that day, you can eliminate the uncertainty and you can finally define who you are. And when someone tell you and classify you, you know exactly who you are, okay? That this is the one things that I wanted to go out there, and I've been educating younger generation, is that if we don't continue educating our youngster, we will continue to see a lot of our kids end up in a mental hospital with no explanation to it, but lots of medications, okay? So this is something that I myself as a shaman, I experienced and I went through, and I realized that, you know, it needs to be taught, because if we don't teach our kids and we don't identify the type of symptoms, or that, hey, there's other options to it, then if there's only one option, then yeah, we're gonna lose a lot of our kids, you know. And when I myself experienced that, I know myself clearly, because, and you listen to yourself, okay, many of you guys. Now I'm telling you this because if you do have spirit, your dreams are very different from everybody else, okay? The way you think are very different from everyone else. And that's why, so when you become like that, that's when you need to seek other spiritual help, okay? It does not mean that it does not exist in other society or other group, okay? If we all have it. This is the shamans or shamanic healing it's something that all people in this planet has it. But many of them just choose to push it off and just never practice. Or if they do practice, they decide to practice very low and very minimal, okay? So what do I mean by some of you who have spirits and pay close attention to your dreams, is that if you are having some sort of guidance that will guide you, your dreams are so different in that when you dream, you will always fight with evil. You fight with evil, you fight with evil. Your dreams that's all you ever dreams about. The minute you close your eyes, the minute you open your eyes, the minute you close your eyes, those are horrible dreams. but it's not because you are going nuts, okay? It's because your spirit is taking you to experience all of these, you know? You are in the worlds of spiritual world, and they're trying to give you a message. They're trying to tell you, hey, what's going on, right? So like myself, in the Hmong culture, again, like earlier Professor Vang said, I grew up in a very large family. I'm the oldest of 12 kids. So in the Hmong culture, we don't usually talk a lot, okay? We go in our own thing, we do our own thing, we're very independent. You know, there's many of us, so we take care of the little one, our parent has to go cook, and everybody is kind of take their own responsibility, and everybody know what they need to do. And we don't usually talk a lot about the type of dreams that we dream, or the type of experience that we experienced it. So I never knew that I was, even though I feel like I was always so different, because very early in my age, I would know things that's gonna happen, and it happened. Okay, I see things that I say, oh, I've been here before, you know. You know,